A motivator for a long time was trying to prove something to the kids at school, and that's totally unnecessary. I find it a kind of a meditative state, very calming. So I do mine at sort of about 7 o'clock in the morning. I've got an alarm. It goes off at 10 to 6. I'm a morning person. I like the early mornings. I'll get up, make a coffee, and sit at the dining room table, as you've seen in the video if you watched it. And it's a calm place. The world is quiet. I've got the whole day ahead of me. I've hopefully had a decent night's sleep. Some nights better than others. And then I can process my unconscious mind. Not process it, just let what's in my mind come onto the page. It's the insights that we can gain from that process is why we should do morning pages. For example, an insight I got from my morning pages some time ago was the realization that a lot of the motivation for what I was doing was trying to prove something to the kids at school. These were kids I was at school with, secondary school in particular, 1979 to 1984, I was there. Secondary school I didn't enjoy at all. Primary school was okay. I enjoyed primary school. I was, had a great childhood in the 1970s, growing up in Tamworth, a small town in England, central England. Secondary school was a different ball game. So, obviously you're starting to become and transitioning into, you're going through puberty, transitioning into adulthood. And I've still got some of my old school reports. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this is a school report from 1973. So this is from primary school. And as you can see, Martin has made good progress with his reading. Trying very hard with writing, Martin is writing his own sentences. And I think that set me in good stead for what was to follow. I feel I should point out it wasn't me who kept my school reports. It was my mum, because that's the kind of thing mums do. And I was doing okay for the first year or two, and then it kind of, it went, I fell off a cliff. I was not one of the cool kids, not one of the hard kids, not one of the sporty kids, not one of the academic kids. Aww. Just one of the kids making up the numbers, which is actually probably just most kids. Had greasy hair, very greasy hair, and a sleepy eye, and didn't have acne too bad, but I think everybody has it at that age. Just making up the numbers, like I said. And so now, I feel like I'm kind of in my prime as a person. Kind of know who I am and what I want, and I'm realistic, have recognised that I'm a determined fantasist. So there's a guy called Christo, I might mention this before in a video. He's a designer, and you have this thing called the 2-word brand. And mine is determined fantasist. So how do you get to your own 2-word brand? Okay, so you write down a list of characteristics that you don't like about yourself, or things you would like to improve. They're negative things, negative words, a list of negative words about yourself. And then you offset that negative word with a positive neutralizer word. And I recognise that I am determined. I go for what I want, and I'll work out how to get that. So say, when I was having books published by Simon & Schuster in the early 2000s, I'd gone for it, and I'd looked at what other writers did and what steps they took to get a book deal, and I followed those steps. That's me being determined. I got the job I've got now because I'm determined. I worked hard at, developing my creative content skills and applying for jobs. And I was determined, and I got there. But I also recognise that part of my creativity is because I spend most of my time in a fantasy world one way or another. And that is scenarios, playing out scenarios at work, in relationships, personal life. It's the quality that enabled me to, use past tense then, enabled me to come up with, invent worlds, for example, characters, and write that stuff down. So it's a blessing in one way, but it's also a curse. the creative mind can be a curse. But those two things, I recognised I'm a determined fantasist. That was my 2-word brand. Just want to give a shout out at this point to some of the channel members. In the page pioneers, we've got Bilvers, Gary Gentile and Joe Schonbach. Scribe supporters include FTM8888 and Laird of Glencoe. Thanks for your support, folks. It really means a lot. If you want to get members' perks such as videos with no ads, check out the join button at the top of the page or in the description. So trying to prove something to the kids at school who don't care, who I don't have anything to do with anymore. There's like a couple of them. So there's one guy I am in touch with still, my best mate at school, and we used to sit at the back of Mrs. Pitt's English class looking at pictures of Harley Davidsons in magazines and big trucks. We were going to be truck drivers. Neither of us left school with any qualifications to speak of because secondary school wasn't for us, didn't suit us. Mark, how you doing, Mark? I've got back in touch with him again in recent years, and I'm where I am now, a professional content creator for a global group of companies. Mark manages several theatres. Look at the two of us, and this is what you can achieve. Don't forget to check out the merch. There's some Think Feel Right mugs and stickers and t-shirts and notebooks, and there's also the Emporium of Creativity, lots of the writing tools and implements and things I've used in the past and books. Check those out. So the whole point of that is, through my morning pages, I recognised that I was a motivator for a long time, was trying to prove something to the kids at school, and that's totally unnecessary. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. The only people I need approval from is the people immediately around me, because they're the most important. For example, my wife's we've been married 33 years now, and she's been with me through thick and through thin and supported me from chasing a writing career to getting that writing career to the writing career coming off the rails, and then what? Discovering what I was going to be then and reaching the point I'm at now. And I guess it's important to remember that morning pages are going to be different for everybody. They're going to be, what comes out of your morning pages is going to be unique to you. The things you discover are going to be totally different to the things I discover, for obvious reasons. And I don't think we can ever really know what we're going to get. Like I do, these standard sort of 3 sides of A5. I generally find it's about halfway through, a page and a half that real key things start to come out. So I think it's this voyage of discovery is part of the fascination, and it's a gradual process like breadcrumbs. It's not I don't think you're going to get a massive light bulb moment or flash of inspiration. Well, I haven't. You might. So there's several reasons why you should write morning pages. It's the insight, the self-affirmation, finding where you want to go, where you want to be, who you want to be, and sometimes maybe the steps you might need to take to get there. So why not give it a go and see what flashes of inspiration you might get?